Well, hello everyone, welcome to Hearts of Iron 4. I am Lovesbuds, and you may be thinking, what's this? This is not a racing game. You don't race tanks across open water. No, it's a grand strategy game. Something a bit different. And I'm going to do a few different things from now on. There'll always be F1, of course. That will always stay in its rightful place on the channel, but we're going to do a bit of Hearts of Iron 4, and we're actually going to do a modded Hearts of Iron 4 this time round, the Road to 56 mod, which will expand the tech tree and make a few other balance changes and whatnots. So what we're going to do, I'm going to jump straight into a game, a single player game, a new game, and we're going to go for 1936 and build up and do a few things. Let's see what chaos we can create as a communist United Kingdom. It's going to throw a bit of a spanner into the works because the UK is the leader of the Allies in this game, and then with this mod on top of it, it can throw up some crazy factions. So let's see what happens. So let's just select this country and go for it. Starts off a bit nerfed, being a democracy and, you know, not being able to recruit a lot of our population. You can see a minus 25% there. But we'll see what we can do as soon as we get out of this democratic quagmire. We shall expand the empire and bring it back to some sort of greatness. So, just to make things even more interesting, let's put Ironman Mode on, but leave AI historical focuses off. So this way, I cannot be cheating. But actually, there's no point, actually, is there? There's no point at all in doing Ironman Mode. But you know what, I'll just do it anyway, even though you don't get achievements, because I don't think I'm going to get any achievements anyway, because I think I've got the most of the British ones, if not all of them. So, let's get started here. Ironman United Kingdom 3, yep, so let's go. Let's see what we can do here. So, I've been playing this quite a lot. I've got roughly about 200 hours or so into the game. I've been playing it on Sunday nights with a certain Alex the Rambler and co. on his Twitch channel. I can't stream because I do not have the upload speed. I've nowhere near the upload speed. I have Scottish internet. But that's a moan for another day. So first things first, what I do, I grab all my divisions, make them into one army, and let's just say you can be Alan Brook. Montgomery can be used for another army, I feel. So, let's consolidate our navy as well, because it's all around the world. So I'm just going to select all of these and combine it into one massive death fleet. That'd be delicious. Oh, I don't think I selected all of them, but never mind. We'll grab them later. So we're going to leave it paused for a second while I get everything sorted. Just going to delete all of our air wings like so, because that seems like a fantastic idea. Get rid of all the air wings, and then we can make proper air wings later on down the line. So let's keep going here. There's probably more air wings across the world because the British Empire currently is still pretty massive, even if a lot of the countries have got some sort of independence. They're more dominions than anything else. I think some of these are actually on ships there, but never mind. How many have we got now? Alexandria? Yep, you can go as well. You can go into the bin. The Void. Palestine. Dive bombers. Goodbye. Who else have we got? Aden. Goodbye to you as well. Singapore. da. HMS Glorious. Well, let's leave the ones on the ships for now, because otherwise I will forget about them later on. There's no point having aircraft carriers if you're not going to have any aircraft on them. So let's just go on to the research. I think you get an extra research slot to start with. You might even get an extra one with this mod. Usually you start off with 3 as the UK, but here you've got 4. But as you can see in the research screen, you've got all your usual ones. You've got your infantry, support companies, armour, artillery, your doctrine, your land doctrine, your naval and naval doctrines, air and air doctrines, of course, and engineering and your industry. And then with this mod, you get expanded industry and equipment, ET. And you've also got extra things in here. So for resource production, so you can make more steel if you need more steel, or annual aluminium, as the Brits say, or aluminum, as the rest of the world says. You can even do technology on their clothing, their equipment, and a few modifications to armour and aircraft. Also, Special Research Division gives you bonuses to your research and your army or your industry, for example, but you can only take certain paths at a time. So if you go down the army focus, you can't go down the air or naval focus, and if you're going down this one, you got like the means or the ends. So these are like factory or getting men back into the field, more research, that sort of thing. Really depends on what sort of game you want to play. Of course, you can see the expanded technology usually goes to about 1945 or 1948. But as you can see, 1949 right to 1954, and I would assume the game ends at 1956. So, how do I usually start? Well, I usually grab this 1918 equipment, so get that out of the way. And then a must for me is to make sure we get some research speed. And then your basic machine tools to raise your production efficiency cap, as it says there, by 10%. I'll go on to that in a moment. In the meantime, just get construction for faster construction speed of factories, because at the start of the game your factories are really quite poor. As you can see, the civilian factories here, we have 15 out of 33 used so far, so we've got a few to use up for projects like building more factories. So obviously the more factories you have, the more you can build and the quicker you can build it. So civilian factories are used for building pretty much everything. So you can either build more civilian factories or military factories. We'll get onto the difference in a second. Dockyards for building your ships. You can build synthetic refineries as well if you've got a shortage of oil, which will become a factor later on in the game if you don't have domestic supply. Rocket sites, nuclear reactors for the bombs, and in this mod you can get steel mills, aluminium mills, and rubber refineries, which help you out a lot more with your resource supply. And obviously if you're building civilian factories, you can speed things up, like infrastructure building, airbase, anti-air, radar stations, etc., and naval bases and forts, and all that jazz. But as you can see a number there. You can only fit a certain number of factories in a province or a state, whatever you want to call it. So you have to balance up with how many civilian factories you put down versus how many military factories you put down, dockyards, refineries, reactors, so forth. So you need to work out what you need quite early on and what sort of game you're going to play, but you can increase the limit through technologies and focuses. Mainly technologies. Some focuses just give you building slots and give you factories for certain things that you do. But you can convert civilian factories to military factories and the other way around if you need more of the other. Military factories used for production of equipment and tanks, planes, dockyards for ships, that sort of thing. But that will use up resources as well. If you don't have a good resource supply, you have to go to trade, and to trade's pretty easy. You see what you need, click on the resource. Usually the top of the list is your best bet because you can get the most resources there. And then the way I do it, you just click that, because that sets the amount that you need to fill your current demand for that resource. So just click that. We need 8, but we give up 1 factory. So if you're trading too much, you'll not be able to build as much as you need. But we're going to do this for now, just for example, and get that oil so that we can use it for building ships, for example, because that requires oil. You don't require oil to carry it for it to continue to run. You just need it to build the thing, and once you build it, it's yours until it gets sunk or downed or destroyed or whatever happens to your stuff when it gets killed. So you can see we need the oil for that, and that. But for now, we're just going to go back to civilian factories, and what I usually do is build up a few things here. So we're going to just spam factories in and around, pretty much almost 1 for each province here. And then we're going to spam some military factories as well, because that will be handy later on down the line when we start declaring war and things. And what can we do? We can't build in Canada. We can build in India, because they're still... what are they? They are a colony. So you can't build in dominions because they're too far up and they're almost trying to go for their independence. But we're going to change that, hopefully. But we shall see what happens when we go communist. But more on that later. So the civilian factories are now busy. They are producing what they can, and that's going to take a long time for anything to happen there. So we're going to go into the military factories and just say a certain amount for each thing, basically. So, and then to add to these ships, I will want to build convoys as well. Always make sure you're building your convoys, because you need that for trade and transporting troops and such like. And obviously the enemy will sink those convoys at any given opportunity. So that's the military factories dealt with, and you just need to assign them to what you're producing. And obviously the more you assign, the more resources it uses up. So you need to have a good supply. Missing equipment production. Well, I'm missing artillery, so I need to click on there and get some artillery to get that to build. So that'll need to go up a bit further up the list. Might even assign a couple of factories to that, actually. I'll do. Make sure that's on the go. So national focuses, give your people a goal to work towards. Obviously have some sort of bonus when you complete them. So if you go for limited rearmament here, you get 2 civilian factories for 2 building slots in Gambia and Sierra Leone. That will help you. It doesn't matter if you used your limit in your territory, you can still get these, as it does unlock a couple of extra slots. But what we're going to do, if we're going down the communist route, and we're going to expand slightly, what we will want to do you know what? We might expand into Scandinavia. That might be a good idea. Because if we're going to destroy the Allies... This could be an interesting game, actually. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, because with this mod, the factions, they don't just have the Allies and the Axis. The AI create their own factions, and I've seen a Scandinavian faction, I've seen an Australian American faction, I've seen a Polish faction, a Middle Eastern faction, so it's going to be a bit strange, this one. but I would like a bit of national unity, actually. Research. I need research time. That would be handy. Researching is always good. So gain base national unity there. That would be a handy thing. Yes, I think I'm going to do that. Yes, reinforce the empire. Gain a bit of national unity. Seems we're going to go down the communist route. We are going to need a communist advisor. Who is going to be that guy here? Harry Pollitt. Daily communism support plus 0.10. We need 150 political power points, which will accrue up there. And once we get to 150, we'll get a pop-up saying that we can change the government, and we will change that by one of these things here. Now, national character here is part of the mod. Usually you just get these top three. But with this mod, you get the national character as well. So you can do foreign relations, law enforcement, state's mandate, legal status of women, social order, and the justification for war. They all have their little perks and their advantages and disadvantages. So balanced approach, you can increase your national unity as well. So say you were hit by a nuclear bomb or something, which does damage national unity quite a lot. You can build it back up again if needs be. So order above all as well. You can get better organisation and a reduced effect of partisans, but the political power cost is quite a lot higher. It will mean you won't have a lot of political power at all. So there are some trade-offs to some of these. So if you go for like something, say, total equality for women and men, you lose national unity, which is a bit strange, but you get a massive boost to factory output, half your political power gain, but you get 25% recruitable population factor. I mean, it's a pretty extreme one, but you have to balance up what you want from the game. And if you're in a tough spot, maybe that extra 25% recruitment is going to help you out there. But anyway, let's get on with the game. We've got unassigned divisions. The Sudan Defence Force. Oh yes, because we got divisions across the frickin' world here. We'll just consolidate them into one army. How about we give that to William Slim? Looks like a top gentleman there.
Yes, sir.
Malta can stay where it is, as can Gibraltar. Don't really need them to be part of any force, really. They can just stay where they are, as can the divisions in Hong Kong and that Ceylon Defence Force down there, and down in British Malaya, down in Singapore down there. So we're pretty strong. Can't really deny that. What's this one? Available planes and reserves. So if you've got quite a few planes not assigned to air wings, you can you'll get that lovely little pop up there. Insufficient resources, so we need more oil, which I'm not going to give any away just yet. We're just going to make them build the more factories. I think that's a good call at the moment, because that insufficient resources is going to be there quite a lot. So I think we're ready to get going now. Sorry I've waffled on so long, but I usually play on 5 speed, so it's going to go pretty quick, and I will pause at certain events and certain planning. So let's go. See all the ships moving around. I don't know where they're going. They're probably going somewhere to merge with each other. So we're all going to merge up in the Eastern Mediterranean or Egypt. They're all going to Egypt, right? Okay. So let's merge these last 3 navies. Let's just pause that a second. King George V dies. He is now dead, and he always dies in January 1936 because it is historically accurate. Edward the 8th, is that? 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, yes. Edward VII, which grants a minus to national unity, which is fantastic. So from a 75% national unity, it goes straight down to 60% because George V was the monarch on the throne when World War I broke out and subsequently won the World War. But now we've got Edward VII, not necessarily a popular king, and did, I think he was a Nazi sympathiser as well, if I remember rightly. But let's carry on. Just have to wait for the political power to build up a bit. But we've got the reinforce the empire, which will increase the national unity here. Got our civilian economy going on here, so that takes a massive debuff to our construction speed. Ideally we want to get rid of that as soon as possible. My first move is to usually go straight for the communist revolutionary, but it might even be a good idea to get some political power gain first. But I might go communist revolutionary, then get rid of these toaster factories, and then get the political power gain, and then we can work on the rest later on. So the remilitarization of the Rhineland has happened. Germany have walked into their backyard. We'll issue no objection. So that's done. Service overseas, so we can get some experience for the Army, Navy and the Air Force. Because we want to go for the colonial elite thing down here. I swear there was a research slot. That's over here, but I can't actually do that until the world tension goes up. We'll do that soon. We'll do limited rearmament soon, but we'll go for the research bonus as quick as we can. Because the faster we can research things, the better things we will have to kill the enemy with. Right, let's carry on. It's just a follow-up of the event there. So the soldiers of Germany are stationed across this border here somewhere. Mostly up with France and the Maginot Line, which will be around about here. Doesn't look like they built anything yet though, but to be fair, it is only 1936. We've only just started the game. The French not learning the lessons of the past. Nothing stopping Germany going through the Netherlands and Belgium there. But there's not much going on at the moment. Unfortunately, nothing much does happen in a democracy. The Spanish Civil War happens on cue. Usually happens. The nationalists win 9 times out of 10, but the Republicans can surprise, and they do occasionally win sometimes. But let's see how this goes. Let's just zoom in and see what happens here. Madrid about to fall. Let's just pause it for a moment while I check another national focus. And basic machine tools is done as well. Awesome, so we're going to go for that extra research buff. So we've got a research slot. So the production cap is pretty important as well. That's this bar up here. So you can see the efficiency, the more efficiency a production line has, the more units are produced in that line. And the cap is this yellow line here. And obviously you want that cap to be as high as possible. And it takes a while from when you start producing equipment for the efficiency to go up, and it will go up very slowly, as you can see. It goes up by 0.25% per day, so it will eventually get to the cap of 60% there. But obviously the higher the cap, the higher the efficiency, and the more equipment will be produced. So you want to get that cap as high as quickly as possible. And we're just going to go down the industry route a bit more here. I usually go for dispersed industry. Usually I play countries that are likely to get bombed on a consistent regular basis. So this helps with that. This means industry is a bit further apart, less likely to be bombed. Because of it being so far apart, less damage is taken. Factory output maybe not as good as concentrated industry, but I quite like the bomb vulnerability to be quite low, and you do keep a good amount of efficiency retention as well, which is kind of strange considering you'd expect that in the concentrated industry with everything being next door. But nevertheless, we're going dispersed. What else have we got to do here? So we're doing quite well on that, and air power is quite important, so I may do the Hawker Hurricane in a second. That's ahead of time at the moment because you get a penalty. If you research something that's too far ahead of time, you get ahead of time penalty, which adds on days to your research. So it's not worth researching any of that stuff until you get close to the year. So that's 1938. So that would take 412 days. You still get it before 1938, but it's going to be a waste of research time where you could get something that costs a lot less time. So we'll need a bit of field hospitals, and I go for signal companies. I don't know why, but it tends to work for me. But I think what we're actually going to do is going to go for the Hawk Hurricane. Get that production off the ground. Try and get some air power under our belt. And some decent air power at that. So let's carry on. May 1936. See how quickly time is going by. And I will edit my divisions once I get enough experience. So here we go, modified government. We've got enough political power, over 150 now, and we're going to go for a communist revolutionary. And we're always going to choose the people in government first. Because if you choose this other option, a movement for the people, you'll end up in civil war most of the time. So always go for the internal coup for a more peaceful option. I don't know if it takes longer, but it's more peaceful because a civil war is just annoying and you lose a lot of divisions. So let's carry on here. Pretty low manpower, only 54,000 to work with here, so I need to do something with that. We need to get rid of the modifier, the war to end all wars, make people want to join the army again. And once we turn communist, we can enact a bit more of a conscription. So construction is finished. Italy has annexed Ethiopia. Be surprised if they didn't. So what do we want to do? Resource gain efficiency? Maybe not just yet. Let's see if there's anything else we need to look at. We'll take some land doctrine, I think. This is quite handy. The further you can get down this as quickly as possible, the better. Because it will help with your planning, and the better tactics you have, the more chance you'll have of thwarting your enemies on the field. Let's just keep going here. Nothing much is happening. Have we got any factions yet? Leadership purges in the Soviet Union. That's Stalin flexing his muscles and trying to get rid of the Trotskyite people. So that's that focus done as well. So that's a bonus minus 5% to research time. What's this for? Well, we can't go down the intervention route yet because they're not being influenced by communists or fascists. So probably won't worry about that just yet. Need national tension for this to be above 20%. That's pretty good focus for national unity there. Mediterranean Basin, what do we want to do? Coerce Spain. No, we don't want to do that. We shall see what we want to do, but I think we want to go for limited rearmament now. We'll get 4 factories out of that. So let's have a look at the factions. We've got the Allies, the Axis, and the Comintern. Obviously, parts of the UK and our colonies and dominions are part of the Allies. The United States is not part of the Allies yet. We'll see what direction they go in later on. we want to go communists. That should annoy the rest of our subjects. We shall see what happens. The games of the 11th Olympiad. Mechanical computing done. A bit less research time. So let's have a look. I'm going to take a break on this tree just now. Resource gain, that would be pretty handy. So what we want? We got 1936. We could go for some of this. The mod also adds a few more things like desert infantry, Jaegers, which I believe do forest and marsh, which is pretty good. Jungle specialists and shock troops for urban areas as well. So if you can employ those sorts of troops, I don't think the AI does just yet, but if you can employ those sorts of troops in the right locations, you get a bit of an advantage. But I haven't used them yet myself. Until I see the AI start using them, I'm not going to do much with them myself. I don't want to just stomp all over the AI, really. Not without a fight. So, what do we want to do? I think I'm going to go down the Special Research Division here. For another boost to our research time. Do all the groundwork now, lay some foundations, and we'll get some pretty quick research done in the future. We'll catch up, don't you worry. We've got a long way to go before we turn communist anyway. But it will happen. Marxist sympathies in government, yes. We're going down the socialist route. Maybe one day we'll take on the USSR. At their own game. But we shall see. Nationalist Spain. Shouldn't take long for them to win. Better equipped usually. It's a war of movement, that. I have won as Republican Spain before. It's not impossible. But it's pretty difficult. So that's that focus done. Need world tension for a lot of these things. So until world tension gets up to 5%, we can't do that one, but we will do that one as soon as we can. But for now... I don't want to give them democratic leanings, to be honest. I want to give them communist leanings. If we go fortify East Asia, we get a factory. I think that's where we want to go at the moment. For now. That'll do. Okay, that's where I'm just going to leave it for now, actually. So, we haven't got very far so far. We're just laying the groundwork. But join me next time for another episode of Hearts of Iron. See you later.